What's up, y'all? I'm going to just let y'all know off the riff, right? I'm going to just let y'all know up front that this video that I'm going to talk about is going to be very controversial. It's probably, the comment section will probably be divided by race line, because I can see different people that are in the different cars other than the black cars. They're going to be up in arms. They're going to say I'm lying, all that stuff. But, I'm going to try to do my best to keep it fair across the board. Now, I want to make this clear that I am an idiot in law school. I only speak for myself. I don't speak for any government entity in whole or in part. I'm just on my lonesome. Now, everything that I'm going to talk about in this video is going to be based on my observations over the years, different conversations that I've had with inmates from the different groups, and it's just going to be based on, the actions of the prison administrators and the officials. So there's this collective understanding, or there's this well-known secret, right? Well, first, let me back up, right? So it's clear, right? We know that you can go to different YouTube channels and find out, right, that there is an understanding that the black inmates are just disorganized, right? They don't come together as a collective one unless it's an emergency situation, and they have to. There's so many different factions within the black race within the prison that it's not even funny, right? So with that, disorganization is going to also come along with, what do I want to call it? It's going to be to their detriment, if you will, because when you have that really structured regimen thing, that can be a great advantage, right? So for the blacks, because they're disorganized, right, they're missing out on a lot of other things. But there's this well-known secret, and I've had conversations with people from the different cars. And again, I know this is going to be controversial, but based on my experience and talking to other people and how the administration treats black inmates, I believe that it could be said, in my opinion, that there's this collective fear or a collective concern that if the black inmates, right, at least California West Coast, right, if the black inmates ever messed around and got unified, it would definitely create chaos, and it would cause like this really big power shift or power struggle, right? And I know I can already see the comments. People are going to be talking and saying all this stuff, but that's just my opinion. I'll give my reasons for that. But I do believe that the other cars, a part of their strategy with going to war with the blacks or having conflicts with the blacks, I believe part of their strategy is the fact of acknowledging and knowing that they're disorganized. And, when you read the book, The Art of You Know What, and other strategic military books, it talks about taking advantage of the adversary being, unorganized, being caught off guard, things of that nature, because that becomes your ally. So not only can you go after, your enemy with, full force and structured military stuff, blah, 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 but now the other thing you have on your side is that they're disorganized. So in my opinion, I do believe that there's this collective fear or collective concern that if the blacks ever messed around and got organized like the Southsiders or the Sureños, that it would cause major problems. Now, let me give you a few examples from inmates that I've talked to over the years. Now, this was never something that I brought on like, hey, so what do you think about the blacks and their power structure? I don't do that. You know what I'm saying? But I could be sitting out at the hospital on a dude because he got involved in a disturbance or whatever it is, right? Or they could be on my work detail and you just talk. Now, I want to make it clear that when inmates are in their groups with their own homies and stuff, they're going to act totally different than if they're just talking one-on-one, right? Now, I'm talking about experience in the federal system. I can't speak on the state. I'm just talking about from experience within the federal system. And when you get them one-on-one, they open up a little bit. I'm not talking about they telling and debriefing all that kind of stuff, but I'm just saying they have a more candid conversation. And you'll hear them say a lot like, yeah, man, those blacks are the brothers or the folks, they disorganized. But man, if they ever got they act together, man, it would be a lot. It would be trouble. I've heard whites say that. I've heard, different brown inmates say that. You even hear staff saying it. Now, when the staff say it, obviously, because majority of, I work in MAGA country, okay? Just to set the picture, I work in MAGA country, right? You got all these folks, and the crazy thing is, you have all these MAGA folks, they love the Confederate hat and the flags and stuff and all that. They ain't never lived down south. They ain't even got no family down. They've been born and raised on the West Coast, right? But even with those type of MAGA country COs, right, we've had discussions before, you know what I'm saying? And they say, man, and they'll say it like, it depends, because some of them, they may say it or they may try to deliver it as an insult or as a backhanded compliment. And I don't know, if I had $1 for every time I heard it, I would have a lot of money. And these fools will constantly say, we talking about the COs, the blacks, their biggest problem is, they can't get along with each other, and they always at war with each other, and, they can't get along, and, if they got along, they could do something, or if they did this and came together, I promise you, I put that on everything I love. And sometimes we will have healthy debates about it, right? Because it is what it is, right? The racial divide that you have between the inmates, unfortunately, in my environment, having, experience in the federal system, at least in the California, the West Coast, it bleeds over to the officers. And we have those discussions often. And I always keep saying, like I did on my previous video, you can't compare because it's different cultures. It just don't work like that. You know what I'm saying? Black people, they want to be the generals, but they don't want to be no soldiers. Everybody's a general. Nobody wants to be a soldier, right? And you would hear them say it all the time, or they'll say, "Oh, there goes the blacks again fighting each other." I don't know when they're going to learn, they can't do nothing without unity. And when they say that stuff, they're saying it again as a backhanded compliment, or they're saying it in a way to try to be divisive or divisive, or they're saying it to try to kind of stab you in the back a little bit. And so sometimes I'll address it and sometimes I don't. It just depends on what mood I am that I'm in. You know what I'm saying? But let me give you the example when it comes to the prison administration, because this is stuff that I've noticed over the years. Right now, again, I can't speak on the state. I'm only talking in terms of experience that I've had, on the federal side of things. And I've seen over the years, man, I kid you not. I think the most at one time, like just on one yard, I think I've probably seen between 5 to 7 black hands walk in the yard. Listen, I kid you not. I've been on yards, right, where you would have 5 to 7 black hands, and they would be in the different units doing their thing. When it comes to AB, you might see a few, either they might be a made member, or they might be somebody that got their, name, the books is open, things of that nature, and they got to come to where we are to put in the work, and, they can advance. Nazi lowriders, I've seen, those people, even with the, Puerto Rican gangs or things of that nature, you'll see some top leadership come in, you know what I mean? But then when it comes to the black inmates, it is rare, right, that you will see black inmates that come in that got juice just across the board, right, where they just got name recognition throughout the entire country, And I remember, it's funny because, when inmates come in, right, I can't go into specifics because of security issues, but, we know, what I'm saying, who's going to come into the prison. We have an opportunity to, find out this, that, and the other. So I remember on this one time, this was years ago, there was a BGF that was coming on the yard. And I had to look closely. I'm like, wait, what? A BGF? Because all this time, right, I've been used to only seeing, Hispanic leadership on the yard, white leadership on the yard, things like that. So I'm like, wait, they got a BGF coming in? So when the dude comes in, I'm seeing this dude, right? He was sitting in a wheelchair, and basically, and no disrespect, but he was basically peeing and boo-booing on himself. He had to have a dude, it was a youngster, and he was probably from a different car, but he had a youngster that used to have to, tow him around in the wheelchair and help him out with, daily activities. So I just said to myself, I was like, man, this is crazy. And you've seen where you've had other blacks that hit the yard, right? And when they hit the yard, within like a few weeks, they're gone. And I don't know if they're gone because maybe, the investigators or the people figured out that this dude got influence and he got juice. I don't know what it is, right? But I'm talking about as a private citizen, just looking over the years, it kind of seemed like the administration was trying to set it up to where the blacks could never really set up a solid infrastructure like the other cars. You know what I'm saying? And I remember, obviously, I can't say no names. I can't go into no details about that. But all the people that I've come in contact with that were black and they had like some major juice, they were shipped out. They were sent to the hole. They stayed up there for a few months and they had to go. And I would just, excuse me, I would have talks with other, black, CLs about it. And we would all see the same thing, right? It's like you see the Hispanic different cars, the white boys, Nazi lowriders, the AB. You would even have some, I think it's called SAC. It's out of Utah. I can't remember the name, but they be putting in that work. SAC. I think that's something. I can't remember what it is, but it's like a 3-word acronym, something like SAC. And I think it started out of Utah. And them white boys is crazy. I'm telling you, them white boys is crazy. So you'll see all those people. They'll get like decent jobs. They'll get like the cush jobs. They'll be hanging out on the yard all day. All these different things. But then again, when it comes to the black inmates, right, and getting certain type of leadership that comes in, they don't allow it. And there's even times, here's the other crazy thing, right? And this is like universal, right? Where you might have issues on a certain yard and somehow, some way, the gang leadership is somehow able to send a person to an institution to set order and to get things straight, clean up house, all that kind of stuff, right? Now, I've seen that occur for the brown inmates, whether it be the Pisces, whether it be the Southsiders, whether it be the white boys, all that stuff. But I've never seen that occurrence. Now, it could have happened and I didn't know about it, but I've never seen that, right? So when you look at all of these different things, it's like, and again, because the staff, they talk about it all the time, but when they talk about it, it's more with a degrading tone, or it's more with a knife in their hand trying to, stab you. Oh, there goes the blacks again. That's why they can't be in control, because they can't get along. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. But then again, when you look at how the administration, man, that thing is leaning. I did not know. Okay, let me get back. So when you look at how the administration facilitates things and they set things up, it makes it very, very difficult. Now, here's another example, right? Because it's all about, right? Obviously, you want to have some numbers. You want to have some very influential leaders that can, keep the pack together, do their thing. But another good thing is when you can get strategically placed in certain jobs, because when you get placed in certain jobs, that gives you a little extra clout. Like, say, if you like the head dude in the kitchen, or you could be in CMS doing something, or you could be in Unicor or whatever, depending on your position, it is what it is. You can have access to certain things. And I sometimes joke with, like, you may have like orderlies that work on the yard. They could be raking up leaves or doing whatever they're doing, right? And so they pass stuff. That's what they do, right? And so I sometimes joke with them, and I may see one dude kind of standing around for a second, or he might be walking to go somewhere. And you know me, I'm crazy. So I'll just say, hey, are you working for the inmate check? I mean, are you working for the government check or the inmate check? Because the government check is just, you get your few little dollars because, you doing the sanitation thing, keeping things going. But then the inmate pay is they going to throw you some stamps or some banana pudding or whatever, because you passing notes, you passing drugs, you doing all that stuff, right? So I can honestly say, like, and I know it's going to sound horrible. I know it's going to sound terrible, but I'm being honest with you. I have never seen black inmates being in, like, and I'm just saying me. Now, there's other people that could have seen it. So I'm not saying, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it has never happened and it never would happen. All I'm saying is I've never seen it to where you have black dudes that are in these cush jobs. You know what I'm saying? Now, you might have a few brothers. Now here's the thing, though. Let me make a note. It's going to depend on who the CO is working that detail, right? Because you have some COs that are white and Hispanic. They're not on that race time. They cool. They cooler than the other side of the pillow. You know, that's a Stuart Scott reference. God rest his soul, from ESPN. But you have some dudes, they want to have a diverse work crew. So in those situations, you could have a situation where you might have, you know, a black inmate in an influential position with the inmate workers, right? But that's going to be the deciding factor. But unfortunately, depending on what institution you work at, especially, like I said, where I'm at, it's MAGA country. So you'll have a few COs that aren't on that kind of time, and they'll try to mix it up. For the most part, you'll have like an all Hispanic crew, or to be a Hispanic and white crew. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And all that stuff, believe it or not, that plays a role in how effective, right, that different cars can be. You know what I'm saying? And let me see, who was, I can't remember. Obviously, I wouldn't say the inmate's name, but it was a conversation that I had with them, and I think it was a Southsider, I believe. And he was at the hospital, you know, and we were just talking or whatever. And he said something to the effect that, you know, the blacks, they go, you know what I'm saying? When it's time to get busy, they go. But he was like, their problem, again, is they don't get along. And when I look at all the conversations that I've had, when I look at the way the administration treats the black inmates and stuff, it's almost like, it's almost like, I know it's going to be the cliche term, but it's almost like the odds are stacked up against them, right? Now, I'm giving you play-by-play info. I'm fair across the board, but I got people that I work with that watch my videos, and then they try to report my stuff, trying to get me placed under, you know, investigations, things of that nature. But I'm a private citizen. You know what I'm saying? If you don't like what I'm talking about, change the culture. You know what I'm saying? If you don't like what I'm discussing, then do something to try to make a positive change there. But I'm just keeping it real. Where I work now, there's other places where it's majority, you know, black inmates there, or it can be majority black officers, which that has its own set of issues, because you get into the crabs in the barrel situation, the fighting, because humans are going to be humans, right? So I can't speak on those other institutions. The only thing I can speak on is working in a place that's like MAGA country, right? I'm telling you, they got the Trump flags, they got the hat. I mean, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? And to deal with those people and that mindset, you know, when the administration, when it seems like they're trying to set things up or facilitate things to make it better for other cars versus the black car, you know, it's cause for concern. But the problem is, you know, who are they going to complain to, right? Or like, say, staff member, right? Let's say you try to get diversity on your work crew. Now, I'll use myself as an example. I know for a fact, right? I know good and well, ain't no way in the world I can conduct myself the same way that some of these white and Hispanic officers conduct themselves. And I promise you, they will have an all-white work crew. They will have an all Hispanic work crew, or they'll have a mixture of white and Hispanic, and they may sprinkle in some others here and there, some natives or islanders, things of that nature. But they can do that. The only thing that I can do, and I strive to do that anyways, is to just make it fair across the board. Because I already know if I try to do what they do, right? Because again, they set things up, they facilitate things to allow them, you know what I'm saying, to prosper, or to allow them to, you know, do their thing. Because, you know, what you think, right? You go into a cell to clean the toilet, to unplug the snake, the drain, or you repairing faucets or whatever. You think they just gonna go on there and they just gonna make their government check? No, they making that government check, and they making that inmate pay as well. So they double dipping. But for me, the only thing that I could do, and the only thing that I would do, is just make it fair across the board. So let's say, for instance, right, if I got a white dude, black dude, Paisa, or whatever it is, right, I try to keep it balanced. And if one of them, if they go home or they get transferred or whatever, I tell them, hey, go holler at your people and bring somebody back that you think can work good and get along with the other races, and I'll interview them and talk to them, because again, the best I can do is keep it fair across the board, which that's the right thing to do, but I don't have the luxury of saying, oh yeah, let me get an all black crew, because they're going to look at me like they always say, I'm Louis Farrakhan. That's what they say at work, right? Which is, it's hilarious. But people like me that get called Louis Farrakhan or Malcolm X, we only get called that because when we call other people out on their bull crap, they get upset. They don't want their noses to be rubbed in their mess. And that's what I do. I'm going to rub your nose in your mess. What you doing, it's not cool. All this racial stuff, being on this race time and so that's what they do, right? Now, if you just lay down and you tap dance and you do all that kind of stuff, they'll tolerate you, right? Now, I'm not saying everybody, because you have people up there that's cool, but I'm talking about the rotten culture, right? So it all just plays together, right? So if there was a situation ever to where the black inmates ended up coming together, and then they were being treated fairly by, the prison administration, then I think that would change the game a lot in terms of a power struggle, or in terms of, who's going to be in charge of the yard, or who's going to have the yard, or who's going to be the more dominant, things of that nature. But, when the deck is stacked against you, there's nothing that you can do. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully you got some edification out of this. Again, I already know there are going to be some MAGA folks watching this at work. They go, hey, Gillespie, we got him. Gillespie, we got him. Malcolm X, we got Louis Farrakhan calling the SWAT team, because that's what they do. But again, the only people that will call me Malcolm X or Louis Farrakhan, those are the people that I confront, and I'll say, hey, I'm not going for that. I'm a proud black man. I'm a smart, intelligent black man, and I have pride about myself. You're not going to sit up here and think that, because here's the thing, right? I know I'm kind of getting off. So here's, for example, if you a CEO, right, and you got a problem with an inmate for whatever reason, if you call that, you're not supposed to do that. I'm just saying hypothetically, right? If you call the inmate a dirt bag or a piece of garbage or a turd or whatever, that is an individualized insult between you as a man or woman and between that male inmate, right? That's whatever y'all going on, whatever y'all got going on, that's what y'all got going on. But then when you start using the N words and you start using all these Spanish words, the M word and all that stuff, now you roping me into it, because now that's a derogatory term that encompasses the entire community. Now, let me make this clear. I never heard that. I never heard any officer, any officer say that in front of me. And I think I never heard it because they know better, because they know I will act a plumb fool. Now, I'm not talking about with violence, nothing like that. But they know I'm not going to talk. You're not going to disrespect me. I don't care how many COs you got with you. Y'all not about to sit up here and just disrespect me and think it's cool and funny, because, we all can just get fired. We all can just get fired. Now, again, I'm not talking about violence. I'm not talking about any threats, nothing like that. I'm just talking about administratively and legally, right? Because that's, I don't go for that. Maybe it's just because I'm built different. I just don't go for that stuff. But it is, I can say, I do believe, man, that I think one of the biggest fears in the prisons would be if the black folks, the black inmates, if they ever messed around and got unified, it would be a problem. It would really affect the prison ecosystem. I really do believe that. But just know, for the people that's watching, you see me, right? Y'all gonna report me in. Gillespie, call the SWAT team on him. This ninja lost his mind. A lot of y'all people, right, that don't like me, some of these officers, you know what y'all be doing at work. You know how you be showing favoritism and how y'all can get away with it because of the color of your skin. You know that. I ain't going to go into details about stuff. To my knowledge, it ain't stuff that's illegal, but just the way that they show preferential treatment, it is just unmatched. The way that they will hook up their own, and they'll say it. I'll give you this example, and then I got to go. And I came in in the middle of the argument, and it got pretty tense. So it was this black CO, he's the homie, right? and he was having a conversation with this Mexican officer. Now, I never had any issues with this Mexican officer. He seemed cool, whatever, but I didn't interact with him every day. So this black officer, he had just came on board into this certain section, right? He was already working there, but he got a promotion. So he was looking at the work roster, and then obviously he could see the color of the people on the roster. Excuse me. And so he was like, hey, man, don't you think, man, we need to diversify a little bit? Because I think it was like either 90 or 95% Hispanics. And then whoever else was in there to make it 100, they were white. And so he was like, hey, man, can't you, mix it up, man? Let's hire a few blacks in here to kind of, even it out. And the Mexican officer, I kid you not, because I wasn't there for the beginning of the debate they had, but I came in at the middle until the end because I was just going over there just to roll over and kick it for a few minutes, And so when I came in, the Mexican officer, he was talking about, man, they're hard workers and, a lot of them, they're poor. They don't have any money and they just want to work and they just want to send money home to their family. And so without saying, I'm trying to hook up my people, that's what he was saying. And I was standing right there. I was right there. So can't nobody say this is a lie. And for some of y'all know I got receipts all day and all night. But I was standing right there. And he was just giving the whole shebang about how he's trying to look out for his people. Because, they're poor. They're just trying to send a little money that they got. They're trying to send it home. And I'm just trying to look out for them. That's what he was saying. And so I didn't say anything because, like in prison, if it ain't got nothing to do with you, you stay out of it. So they did their little thing, had their piece, whatever. So when he left, I hollered at him. And I'm keeping it real. I don't need to lie for y'all, especially the CEOs watching this. And I told him, I said, could you imagine if I or you or I, we were talking to him and we were like, first off, it would be unheard of to have an all black work crew for anything. That's unheard of. I ain't never heard of that. Right now, I was like, okay, so imagine if black officers had a full roster of like 90 to 95% blacks. And we said, hey, we're just trying to help out our people so they can send money to their family at home in LA or San Diego or wherever they're from. I told them, could you imagine the immediate, swift, and just monumental backlash that we would get, right? And he obviously he agreed with it, but there's so many layers to this that people just don't understand unless you've done time in there or unless, you worked in there or whatever. It may not make sense. But let me wrap this up because I'm at 28 minutes, man. I didn't mean to go this long, but hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it got some edification. I already know that it's going to cause a divide and it's not intentional. It's just the subject matter. It's just, I don't know what to say, man. It's just one of those hot button topics, but I would say either the other people fear it or they just have a heavy concern about the blacks unifying because that would kind of shift the crust or it would kind of change the prison ecosystem, if you will. So until the next one, holla at your boy.